A Poem to My Love by Whisper-Lynn Harper. Interior busy high school hallway, day. High school-aged kids run through the hallway. Some are in groups talking, while others keep their heads down and just walk. A noise of chatter from the kids fills the space. At the end of the hallway stands Kamile, 17. Kamile is a plus-sized girl who's very confident in herself. She's a bookworm and can almost always be seen in a superhero shirt. Even though she's confident, Kamile has something she isn't confident about.
This is a poem to the one I love.
Kamile looks down the hallway, seeing each group stuck together. A group of prissy young girls, phones out and giggling. Further down, a group of people with books and sculptures in hand. Then, running through the hallway, throwing a football back and forth, are a couple of boys. She rolls her eyes.
With every high school movie that exists, you think that at least one would get it right? They don't.
A group of kids walk past. One is a girl dressed in preppy clothes with makeup done to the nines. One is a seemingly geeky girl with glasses and braces holding her books. The last is a boy with ripped jeans and messy hair. They're all chatting.
They make you expect to break out in song and dance, to see the nerdy kid get stuffed into a locker, and of course, for the popular girl to think lesser of everyone. They're wrong. Well, most of them.
Kamile begins to walk down the hallway. Some stares of disgust from the petite girl. Kamile rolls her eyes.
There, of course, is the cliques, but where can't you find them? However, I have never once seen someone sing about the prom before homeroom. I also only see subtweets sent through Twitter, not a kid crying in a locker.
While most people smile at her and she walks with a wave, Kamile stops at her locker, unlocking it and opening it. On the locker door hangs a mirror. She looks into it, fixing her hair.
The only movie I've seen get close to correct also thinks it's cool to use fat as an insult.
Kamile looks into the mirror and pokes her chubby cheek, looking almost defeated, before she smiles.
Last time I checked, it wasn't. But that's also coming from the designated dull, ugly, fat friend. If only she knew.
In the mirror, Kamile sees the other side of the hall. Out walks Cassie, 17, holding a teddy bear and flowers. Cassie is the it girl everyone wants to be, and everyone wants to be her friend. She was once described as Regina Gorge, but nicer. Cassie is a bombshell of a girl, the most popular loved girl. If there is a team, there's a good chance she's the captain of it. Nothing goes on around the school without her knowing. A tall, slender man walks up, wrapping his arm around her. She looks at Liam, 18. Liam is a man's man, the biggest bro in existence. Even though he's taken, that won't stop him from flirting with anything that looks vaguely feminine. He may not be the brightest bulb, but to everyone else, he's a star. Cassie turns her attention from Liam as she spots Kamile.
Kamile!
Kamile looks over, smiling ear to ear at the girl standing before her.
Of course, the fat friend would be best friends with the popular girl. It makes sense to have a mindless minion too scared to lose popularity. What they don't know is that we used to eat sand in pre-K, in between throwing paint at each other in sleepovers.
The girl runs down the hallway, squealing with delight, as Liam follows behind her. His eyes get distracted as a rather busty girl walks by him. Cassie gets to Kamile's locker and she's grinning ear to ear.
You will never guess what Liam did.
Cassie squeals as Liam catches up with both girls. Liam leans against the lockers. Kamile looks at him with a bitter expression.
Hello, Liam. And what happened, Cassie?
Cassie opens her mouth to talk, but Liam interjects.
I promposed.
Kamile forces a fake smile as Cassie and Liam kiss in front of her. Kamile turns her attention back to her locker as Liam and Cassie say goodbye. Kamile grabs her backpack and books before turning her attention back to her best friend.
Now all we need to do is get you a date, my friend. I'm sure there are boys lined up to ask out the second most popular girl.
Kamile bites her lip, nodding.
Yeah. Boys.
The school bell rings.
I'll see you in art class. We have so much to talk about.
Kamile waves as Cassie runs off. Once Cassie is out of sight, Kamile sighs and leans against her locker taking out a poetry book by Sappho. She stops as she looks at a picture of both her and Cassie together. Kamile's finger runs over the edge of the picture close to Cassie.
I've seen every bit of her. The way her eyes crinkle when she smiles, just too wide. The way she has one tooth that sticks out just a bit too far. And the fact that she laughs with her full body. But of course, what would I know? I'm just the friend. Just the friend.
Kamile slams the locker shut. Interior, high school, library, day. Kamile sits alone, backpack in the chair next to her. She listens to her headphones as the Sappho book is next to her, open notebook. She begins to write when she receives a Snapchat from Cassie. Kamile looks at the notification, briefly opening it to see a picture of Cassie with a big smile holding her teddy bear that says, "Prom, here comes your prom king and queen." Kamile smiles at the picture before she notices she's been staring at her best friend for a bit too long and begins to write once more.
As the friend, you have to smile and nod while you want to tell her that her eyes remind you of dusk and golden halos. But friends can't think like that, especially not the dull, ugly, fat kind. But they do.
Kamile begins to doodle Cassie's name, putting hearts around it. She smiles, then writes the words, "A poem to the one I love." Interior high school art classroom, day. Kamile sits at the back, reading through the poetry books of Sappho. She writes in her notebook about brown eyes and gold hair before Cassie comes, causing Kamile to slam her book shut. Cassie sighs, taking out her phone, playing on it before the teacher walks in. Cassie rolls her eyes as Kamile watches her.
She always hated art class. She thought that it was boring. Maybe it was because no one could ever paint her beauty. Maybe it was because she thought the art was more beautiful than her. I hated art class as well. I could never mix the right brown to yellow to match her eyes or find the right shade of red of her blush.
The students get up and go to their easels, but Kamile stays seated, opening her notebook once more, beginning to write again now that she is alone.
I love English, though. I loved reading Sappho, falling in love all over again with a face stained with love. In English, I could find the adjectives to replace the colors. I could find the perfect metaphor for her hair. I could describe the way it would cascade down her skin, turning it into a waterfall of softness and the scent of lavender. But this wasn't an English class. This was high school. And sometimes high school is just like the movies.
Cassie grabs her palette, getting the brush and dipping it into blue. Kamile steals glances at Cassie writing in her notebook. Cassie stands back, looking at her paint-covered hands, and goes to wash them off. Kamile bites on her pen, then writes more. Cassie wipes off her wet hands with a paper towel and walks over to where Kamile is.
It was an art class where she spoke about prom first.
Cassie taps her desk, looking at Kamile with a mischievous smile.
I have a question for my best friend.
Kamile doesn't look up from her notebook.
And what would that be, Cass?
Well,
Cassie moves from in front of the table to sitting next to Kamile.
what if we skip next period and went dress shopping? Before you say no, remember how we used to talk about this? Us going to prom together and dress shopping together?
Cass.
Pretty please.
Kamile sighs, shaking her head, and nods.
Be ready as soon as the bell rings.
Cassie runs back to her workspace, leaving Kamile by herself, looking defeated.
Of course, it was no surprise she was going with someone just as popular as her. Of course, it wasn't her friend. Because we are that. Friends.
As the bell rings, Cassie takes Camile's hand, dragging her to her car as they drive off. Interior, dress shop, in mall, day. Montage, dress shopping. Kamile sits in the fitting room.
At least dress shopping is a memory I could hold dear.
Cassie walks out in the first dress, laughing and twirling around.
The way her eyes shined when she put on the first dress.
Kamile watches with another wistful look, writing in her notebook. Cassie comes in another dress, making a disgusted face, and laughs. Kamile shakes her head, laughing along.
The way she laughed.
Cassie comes out again, smiling ear to ear, almost in tears. Kamile gets up grinning and hugging her best friend.
The way she smiled.
Cassie grabs Camile's hand, pulling her into the fitting room and getting her to try on dresses. Kamile tries on a two-piece dress, showing off her stomach and looking into the mirror. She blinks before breaking out into a huge smile, almost crying. Cassie comes up behind her and hugs her.
Her crinkled eyes shining in the fluorescent light. Just her and I.
Fade to black.
If this were a movie, this is where we'd end on the happy note, where everyone could be happy.